Well, welcome everybody. What a big, great morning it's already been so far. I want to really start by acknowledging the Widjabul Wagga people whose Bundjalung land we're standing on at the moment as the traditional owners of the land, and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging who are still continually connected to the land, the water, the sea and the community. And I think that's incredibly important that we're always aware of that and thinking of that in everything that we do. I also really want to thank Friends of the Koala for allowing me to hold the launch here today, because for me it's the perfect place to have it, because Friends of the Koala are just so close to my heart. I've been volunteering with the organisation here for a bit over 5 years. I've held quite a few different roles, so over that time I've sort of got quite a good view of the different aspects of the organisation. So it's a thrill always for me to be able to link anything that I'm doing with them, because the koalas need so many things done that no one person can do it. So being able to link things together is really important. I'd also like to acknowledge Susanna, who's sitting up the back of the room here, because this would not have happened today without her. She has been... I'm doing so many things on my own and it's really hard. So having somebody who was just the backbone of all of this has made all the difference. So thank you so much, Susanna. I also want to give a big acknowledgement to Becca Boucher, who is the author. So you see her name there, the author of the 2 books. So today we're launching book 2, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. This has been videoed, so there's going to be a little mini online launch. And so I want to say hi to Becca, who authored these books, and then also to Lucy and Noontil, the extraordinary artist who has done the illustrations. She's actually holding a launch in Melbourne today as well, so the book's being launched simultaneously in 2 places in Australia, which is really exciting. So you keep hearing this word Koala Gardens. That's the name of my property. It's a private property. I've been on there for 10 years, and I have a native wildlife sanctuary on the property, and I've been extremely fortunate this year to gain a funded conservation agreement, which is not a common thing. Lots of people have voluntary conservation agreements, but usually they're unfunded. There was only 2 properties in the Lismore Shire this year that were successful in gaining the particular funding that I've got. So that was a huge acknowledgement to me from the government that what I'm doing in trying to regenerate entire ecosystems is really important. And so I'm extremely grateful to have that funding. So I bought the property with my husband in 2010. And to be honest, we thought that it was just these beautiful rolling gardens, and he loved his tractor. And unfortunately, in 2013, he was diagnosed with motor neurone disease. And I just had to ignore the property and think, I just can't even think about this. I just have to do what I have to do, and I'll work out what I can do afterwards. A few months after he died, I finally, okay, I'm going to do it, went for a walk out on the property and found that about 2,000 koala fruit trees had self-sown and were regenerating. And I was just gobsmacked, could not believe what had happened. And that did a whole turnaround for me and really began my healing journey. I was very lucky that I found 4 days before it closed that there was some land care funding available, and I madly wrote this submission and was successful. And the first big thing I did with that funding was I had a property management plan professionally written. I knew that that was important, but I didn't realise at the time how important it was, because that actually has allowed me to secure funding over and over, because I could demonstrate that I was working to a plan, there was a strategy in place, this is where I was, measurable outcomes, and it's helped me just go from strength to strength. My next really big goal now is to work with other private landowners and encourage other people to do the same and to be able to develop a bit of a model of, you can't do exactly what I did because certain things fell into place, but here's the kind of things that you need to do and cover if you want to do regeneration. Because I believe that it's the private landowners that have got the power to change the landscape. Right? So that's a really big thing for me. But then I've got this other arm of looking at the next generation coming up. And that's where we come to this side of what I'm doing. So I was approached by Becca, who was following my Facebook page, and she said, even though she lives in Massachusetts, she said, I've always wanted to do something to help koalas. Can I write about the animals on your property? We got a bit excited, we had discussions, and before we knew it, it was not going to be a book, it was going to be a series, because there's so much that we want to tell children. And you can't do that in one book, but you can do a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit, and you can build it up. And if it's a series, it's likely to stick. Because not many times does one book, really have the impact. So then we had to run a competition on Facebook to find an illustrator, because we knew that even though it's written for reading children 5 to 10 years old, that we needed the illustrations. And we got the most amazing responses to that. I could not believe the quality of what was submitted to us. And we chose Lucienne, and we never, from a moment, even thought about was that the right choice, because the fit has been perfect. So Melbourne, North Coast, Massachusetts. I've got the computer skills, so I do all the typesetting, all the formatting. I actually hadn't really done quite that before. And Becca does the writing. Lucienne, as you might have noticed, is also an author in her own right, and she's an editor. And her sister is in the primary school system. So we get all these amazing skills and strengths between us that flow to make something happen, because I could never have done this on my own. Book 1, Finding Koala Gardens, is the beginning story that teaches children what's going on in the world at the moment. So it starts with Mist is a young koala, and her home's been cut down. And so Susanna talked about that in the tour earlier, okay? And you get this amazing illustration of her sitting beside the tree stump, which you actually saw a photo of that, right? That is exactly what happens. Now, Lucienne, the illustrator, has this amazing ability to elicit this emotional response from children, and we're really looking for that, because everything actually comes from the heart, doesn't it? So it doesn't matter what kind of careers these children grow up to, if we can instill some emotional responses. So when we were first producing that book, I was FaceTiming with one of my granddaughters, who was about 9 at the time, and I showed her that photo, and she was, oh no, the poor thing. And I knew we were on the right track, because this heart-pouring emotion came out. As you go through the book, you get all these different emotions as the animals are meeting each other and they're working out what to do. And then they get to the beautiful, lush koala gardens. And again, you get that emotional response happening. So that's really the whole point of that book, is to make children think, what's happening, what do the wildlife need, and what would that look like. Then we get to look out book 2. So you might have already guessed, looking at the cover, because Lucienne's pretty good at showing a lot of concepts in one image, that it's to do with wildlife and the roads. So the friends have all arrived at Koala Gardens, they've made their home there, and next thing, a tawny frogmouth that has been hit by a car is being fixed up by the wildlife hospital and is released onto the property. And what we now start to get is looking at some of your own problems onto someone else's problems. So you're going to get a little glimpse here that most other people don't know, but Mist is only very young in the books. So as the time goes on, she's going to grow up, but she's starting to develop this social conscience, and she's going to become the little environmental warrior that learns all about the problems in the world and wants to solve them, because that's what we're trying to instill into children. And the best way to do that is to give them something that they can identify to. So in that book, then they're going to learn to start looking outside of themselves, problem solving and using teamwork to do that. So even though these are beautiful stories and beautiful illustrations, we've actually got a whole educational concept that's behind the books that's designed to actually take children on a path of learning to try and help that next generation with what they're going to face. So by you being here and supporting this, it's like just fantastic for me, because it helps to confirm that what we're doing is on the right path, and you're spreading that out, which we really, really appreciate. Lastly, I just want to acknowledge Barbara, who's up in the back with the camera, because it's really exciting that Barbara's come today to take some photos, because Mist is a real koala. All of the koalas on my property actually get named by the Facebook followers of my property. They take great joy in the competition. Nowadays, it's because there's thousands of followers. It's quite competitive. It gets quite hilarious. But it just so happens that Barbara named Mist. Aww.
But maybe Laxies.
Yeah, well, there wasn't so much competition then, but I had hundreds of followers, and it was. And I don't know, do you remember, was Miss the first one that we named?
She was very early, isn't it? Very early.
Maybe might have been the first one, but she was one of the very first koalas that actually got named. So it's really special for me that Barbara's come to take the photos today, because she actually has quite a connection with all of this. So thank you all for coming, and I saw that people have been buying, which is fantastic. If I haven't signed what you bought and you would like it signed, then please grab me and I will certainly do the signing of it. But does anyone have any questions they want to ask about anything before we finish off? Yes?
I've got to say, if you've been admiring this shirt as much as I have, they're available on Redbubble.
So can I just say a huge congratulations to Katrina. Well done, and thank you for hosting this. And I know that lots of kids are going to really enjoy their books come Christmas Day. Congratulations.
Thank you.